A pro-Second Amendment group is calling for a ban on 80% lowers? What is going on? All that and more in the next video here on Guns and Gadgets. Hey everybody, welcome back to Guns and Gadgets, your source for Second Amendment news. Before I get into today's video, I need to thank you all of my viewers, all of my patrons, everybody who helped my family in a time of need here with the GoFundMe, all the big YouTubers that helped share the story. Thank you. I don't know if I'll ever be able to thank you enough. Quick rundown, the last week has been a tragic wreck for our family. My father and stepmother were in a motorcycle charity run. They got into a tragic wreck, crash, and ultimately we lost my father over it. And my stepmother's still in the hospital with some major injuries. But I need to thank you all. It means so much that the community here, not only on YouTube, but the Second Amendment community, reached a hand out when I was down and my family was down. So I want to thank a couple folks. I can't thank everybody because I just can't keep them all in my brain, but it means a lot. First off, to the team over at Iraq Veteran 8888 for understanding why I wasn't at their shoot this past weekend. Thank you to people like the American Joe Show, who was instrumental in giving me some strength. Hickok 45, Fit and Fire, Liberty Doll, Hank Strange, Rob Pincus, Mass Gun Rights, Goal, Mass Oath Keepers, Olight, Bravo Concealment, Stilettos and Shotguns, Honest Outlaw Reviews, Cobra Kydex, American Gun Chick, Gun Streamer. There's just so many. I thank you all. I can't say thank you to each and every one of you because there were a lot. Just know that my family, it was very humbling to watch, and we couldn't have gotten through this period without you. So on to today's news. Again, I've been out of commission for the last 9 days, and I thank you for sticking by. But the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, you've heard them quite a bit here lately in the last month or so, because they are instrumental in a case that's being determined before the Supreme Court of the United States on December 2nd. They're challenging the city of New York's gun control and how they, would not let people get permits, and if you had a permit, you couldn't you take your gun out of your house unless the NYPD told you could go. They had to get a blessing. Couldn't bring it to any other parts of the state because if you leave the city limits, you could become an assassin. It was just insane, and they ran amok on our rights for a long time until this case came to fruition. Numerous times New York had changed the law to try to stop this case, but it's going through. So there's a lot of good that came out of this case from the New York Rifle and Pistol Association. Now, you might also recall September 25th, I'll put the video above here, that I did a video that the state of New York and their Attorney General were coming out to ban 80% lowers because they made people like magical killers, okay? And this bill is kind of blossoming to the point where the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association have backed New York's desire to ban ghost guns, or 80% lowers. Now I'm going to read you a quote from Tom King, who's the president of the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, and I gotta say, I'm kind of disappointed here, but I'm going to read it word for word, just so I can get it correctly. He said, "These 80% guns are providing a way for prohibited people to buy a firearm." He adds, "It appears what was meant to be something for competitive shooters and serious shooters to build their own unique firearm may be turning into a criminal enterprise." Now, look, Mr. King, all due respect, I don't know your angle, but this is something that should have never been said. In New York and in Boston, in Chicago, in Miami, even in the little smallest towns in the farthest corners of the U.S., a criminal can and will get a gun if they want a gun. There is not a law on the books that have stopped criminals, because criminals, the definition, they violate the law. I don't... 80% lowers, or the fact that you can build your own firearm here in America since the beginning of the country, is not for competitive shooting. It was to build your gun if you couldn't buy a gun, or if you weren't serving in the armed forces, to defend yourself, your family, your property, and to take out tyrants. The fact that a pro-Second Amendment group who is doing good things in a tough state has turned their back in a way, saying that no, we shouldn't have these 80% lowers because a bad person could utilize this. First off, if you've never converted a chunk of aluminum, which is what an 80% lower is, into a firearm, it takes time, it takes tools, it takes skill. There are, jigs out there for it. However, I've seen a lot of people screw up using those jigs and just totally waste their time and just waste the chunk of aluminum. That's all it is. We're not talking about a gun. It's a chunk of aluminum. But the concerning thing is that a Second Amendment advocacy group is turning their backs on something that's been protected since the dawn of the nation. Yes, a single bad person could do this and create a gun even though they're prohibited. But because a person might choose to do it, or even a small group of people choose to do it, does not mean, and never has in this nation, it does not mean that we strip a right from everybody because of a few idiots. Enforce the laws that are on the books. Have judges and a legal system that have the balls to put people away when they need to be put away, to enforce laws the way they should be enforced, instead of letting everybody go because of feelings and letting the criminal think that it's okay to keep perpetrating these crimes. That is how you have an effect on deterring people, is by letting them know, look, if you do this, you're gonna face these consequences. Not you might, you are. There will still be some people who will still commit crime because they're criminals. But having Second Amendment advocacy groups that turn their back on a portion of the Second Amendment is uncalled for. You either support it or you don't. You don't get to pick and choose which section of the Second Amendment, or which section of the First Amendment, or which section of the Fourth Amendment you get to back or support. It isn't up to you. The documents are the documents, the rules are the rules. How would you feel, Mr. President of the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, if tomorrow morning the New York Attorney General got to choose which portions of the Fourth Amendment she liked and illegally searched your home, kicked in your door, seized your stuff because she didn't like that section of the Fourth Amendment anymore? Okay? That's what I'm getting at. You don't get to pick and choose, and your support for the Second Amendment needs to be 100%. If you live in New York, if you know anybody who's in the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association administration, please get this message to them. I know how the media twists and turns things. Perhaps his quote on something was taken out of line. I reserve that possibility. But on the face of this quote, no bueno. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for all of your heartfelt messages, texts, DMs, your donations. This has been the week of hell for us. This has been the most difficult week of my life. Last week I was talking to my dad, and to see what he went through was just tragic. So thank you all for understanding. Thank you for your support. Until we see each other again, this is Jared from Guns and Gadgets. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is where you're going to get the news on the Second Amendment. And please be safe, stay vigilant, and carry a weapon. Take care, everybody, and thank you.